everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome back to my sewing room. Now, my sewing room is currently a disaster. It is about a week and a half after Emerald City Comic Con right now, and that means that I have stuff kind of everywhere. And actually, part of the buildup of the stuff accumulating in my sewing room are alterations and mends that I need to do. And so this week, I want to tackle at least some of those. I don't have a ton of time, so I know I'm not going to get through all of them, but some of them are so easy, and I just want to get them off of my plate and usable again. I mean, we're talking like replacing a button, or gluing something, or like moving some hooks and bars, all sorts of different alterations and mends. So I'm going to show you kind of my pile, my to-do list here, as well as the cleaning that needs to happen in here. And while we do that, it has become a tradition on this channel to do a Q&A every year around my birthday. So by the time you're watching this, my birthday will have already passed. It was March 22nd, but right now it is actually March 17th. It's Happy St. Patrick's Day. And so in the lead up to my birthday, and in the meanwhile of tackling all of this stuff, let's go ahead and answer all of your questions. So I had put out a little thing both on my YouTube like posts page, as well as on Patreon and on Instagram for you to send me your questions. So I've got a whole bunch of questions to go through and a whole bunch of things to mend. We're gonna start with a mend because I need these shoes for the show that I'm in currently, Legally Blonde. We have 5 more performances, and I came off stage the other day and realized, well, it was this heel that I really realized that this was happening when I took my shoe off. And then I looked at the other shoe and it turns out, oh, that one's having a problem too. So I am going to take my shoe goo and I am going to glue both of my heels back on before I even start getting into anything else here. I mean, I'll show you my table. It's a disaster. There is literally room for 1 pair of shoes on this table. And we are going to glue those so that I can use them again on Friday. And then we are going to start into tackling everything else, as well as tackling your questions. This, though, is the current state of things in here. So what you're looking at right here, this is stuff from my mending pile. That is Snow White's skirt. It needs to be cleaned from after Emerald City Comic Con. I think there's petticoats under there that probably just need to be put away. There is a moving fabric pile over here because there's a cat in it. This pile of fabric, this cat just needs to be rolled up and bolted. The pile of fabric needs to be rolled up and bolted and the cat removed from the pile of fabric. She really likes playing in here, but of course it's getting cat fur all over my lining sateen. And there's other fabrics in that pile as well. This over here behind my ring light, this is my like kind of forever mending pile. Honestly, I don't know why the Regency Riding Goat on the end is in there. I think that's just waiting to go back into the closet. Same with this gown. This is also just waiting to go back into the closet, but that is behind my work in progress bustle gown. So that needs to be moved so that I can get to the closet. We'll be returning to that bustle gown though very soon. Like next week or the week after, we're going to be working on that bustle gown again. But the rest of everything back here, this is all stuff that needs mending or alterations, or there's, I think, 2 things that are just unfinished projects. I know this is one of them, this villain's like dress, I think was what I was going for, but then I never finished it. And there's another blouse in there, a vintage style blouse that I never finished. But like, this is my tea gown. This has been in this pile for ages. And to be honest, I don't think I'm going to get to it this week. Hopefully sometime soon. But Aurora over here, I'm pretty sure all she needs is a mend, and I think maybe one of her rubber bands replaced. Like, it's very small stuff, and now she's falling off the hanger. And then this is the other problem here. This is my sewing table. You can see the Snow White wig is still out. The Jane Gable hood is still out. Snow White's bodice is still out because that needs to go into the closet over here, though frankly there's a possibility I'll leave that out. No, I should probably just put it away and take it out again when I need it. But yeah, there's a whole lot that needs to be cleaned up on here. That basket just needs to get put away. This fabric over in the corner needs to get bolted. I mean, obviously I have no surface to work on right now except for my shoes. So let's go ahead, glue those heels and start cleaning up this disaster so that I can start mending the pile. This is what I use for shoe glue repairs. This is just shoe goo. I'll link to it if I can. Frankly, I think I just get mine from Walgreens. And I am just going to put some glue around here and push this back on, and then probably like tie a ribbon around it to kind of hold it nice and tight in place. That will definitely work on this one. This one I'm actually going to have to pry out a little bit in order to get the shoe goo in there because it's coming off less, but it still needs to be re-glued. So let's re-glue those. Both heels are now drying, so let's tackle the rest of this mess and start answering your questions. So since I've completed one item on my list, let's go ahead and answer one question, and we'll kind of go back and forth, see how many items I can get done, and if I don't get enough done, I'll just answer the rest of the questions at the end. So my first question comes from my patron, Jen, and she is curious about me in musical theater. She said, what range do you sing in, and what's your favorite musical to be in the past or that you'd love to be cast in the future? And actually, I've had a few questions on musical theater, so this will include some other people's questions as well in this. But I am generally a mezzo, though a lot of times I wind up singing alto because there aren't enough altos, or soprano 2 because there aren't enough soprano 2s. So I consider myself a mezzo. Right now my voice is a little bit low because I am being slaughtered by my allergies right now. But E3 to B5 is what I consider my range if you know musical theory. And then the second part of her question, what's my favorite musical to be in the past or what I'd love to be cast in the future? I do have a few dream roles that I would love to do in the future. My number one is Mrs. Lovett in Sweeney Todd. That's my number one dream role. But as far as stuff that I've done in the past, I, again, have a few that have been like my favorites. Show overall wise, Into the Woods is one of my favorites that I have been in, as is Mother in Ragtime was just an amazing, like, being able to play Mother in Ragtime that was an ultimate dream role for so much of my life. So that was just really fantastic. But as far as like fun show to be in, surprisingly, I think it may have actually been playing the Baroness in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. But I do kind of feel like Mother has been my peak role that I've gotten to do. So next up, I'm kind of going for a twofer here as far as mending goes, because this green dress right here, which would have been perfect to have worn today for St. Patrick's Day, it's missing a button. And it's a tiny little button. It's just the button that lives on the back of the neckline here. Now, unfortunately, I won't be able to replace it with the exact same button unless there is an extra one hiding in this dress. And actually, as I'm saying this, I am also realizing this button right here needs to be tightened because that is about to fall off. So I am going to see if I have a spare button, which I don't think I do, but I'll check my button stash. Otherwise, I'll just go with something that looks decent, and I'm going to replace the back button with that. Oh, look at that. This is yet another reason why I miss eShakti. They gave not only spare buttons, oh, and in fact, wait a second, look at this. So I think that this silver button right here was actually the button that was on the back of the neckline, and then this is the front type button. I'm about to lose the spare, so I might just tighten that one up. And they even gave spare snaps, which I'm like, I don't know where on here there even were snaps. So I don't know why that was necessary, but I'm going to steal some of those buttons down there, fix these ones up, and while I'm at it, I have another piece that needs a button repair. And that is my jumper dress from Seams Friendly. This one actually broke a button. Yeah, I don't know how I did that. I probably caught it on something, and they're really natural buttons. I think they're made out of, like, honestly, I'm not sure, some sort of plant fiber, I would assume. But again, I feel a spare button right in here in the skirt. Look at that. So I'm going to take that spare button, put that in place of the broken one, and just sew a few buttons real quick, and then we'll get back to the questions. All of the buttons on both dresses are now fixed, so that is great. Those can go back into my wardrobe circulation, and that means it is time for another question before we tackle the next project, which is mending Aurora. These questions, by the way, are in no particular order. I'm just turning to my Instagram questions now, and Dark and Stormy Dolls asks, are there any eras of clothing that you haven't done yet but want to sew? Honestly, I think there is one, and that is a mantua. I've never made a mantua. I actually do have plans to make something kind of the Mantua era. Technically, I think it's 1690s. It's this dress. I have the fabrics for it already. I just have to actually make it. I was intending when I bought the fabrics to make it for a costume college gala because I don't know what else I would wear it to. So if something comes up that's kind of like an any era sort of thing, then I might do it for that. But at this point, it's kind of shelved until the appropriate time to wear it comes up. So let's move on to Aurora. I looked through, it wasn't actually that there's any holes in here. There are a couple of pulls, and unfortunately there's really nothing that I can do about those. However, this was originally stitched to the elbow. Like the drape part was stitched to the elbow. On this side, it is still barely attached to the elbow, and I say barely because actually that's where the one hole is. This has a little bit of a hole in the mesh. My guess is that's probably the same issue on the other side, that the mesh has ripped where it was meant to be connected. So I have to figure out where that point was. Maybe I can find it kind of on the equivalent other side and then just reattach it to the one elbow, strengthen / mend the hole on the other elbow, and then we should be good to go on Aurora. Though actually I'm realizing that there's one other mend needed, and that is that I don't know if it fell off or I just literally never sewed it on, but the top bar that's meant to be right here, it's a safety pin. So I should replace that with a bar so that it's, you know, legit. Wow, there is just glitter falling off of this from all of the glitter tulle. But yeah, I will go ahead and do that too while I am mending those couple of holes. All right, I fixed the two elbow portions on Aurora and I've added that bar onto the back. So she is now done and she can get added to the pile of things that need to go into this closet, which this closet is my like silk and long wool dress storage. It is really rammed full in there, and obviously it is hard to get to as well. So I try to access it as little as possible. Honestly, I'm gonna start needing to find somewhere else to put silk dresses, which is not great. If you are curious about how I store everything, that is actually a video that was one of the first videos I ever did on this channel, and I will link that down below in the description so you can go check that out. It really hasn't changed, even though that was back in 2020. My storage situation hasn't changed. It's just gotten to be more costumes in that limited amount of space. So it is time for another question. And actually, I think I'm gonna do two here because this first one, I think I've kind of already told you, because Lindsay Bladell asked, what Victorian outfit design are you going to sew this year for the Victorian Festival? And as I mentioned to you at the beginning of this video, it is, I'm gonna finish my rainbow dress. If I have time, I don't know that I'm gonna have time, then I will also do more. And hopefully, like, what I want to do more is either potentially alter an old Victorian dress, it's this one right here, that I made to go over a corset that I don't wear anymore, and so this bodice is too short for me and probably too small, let's be honest. But it's possible that I could wear that to one of the dances, the Friday night dance that Emily is hosting, or else I will just wear my velvet ribbon gown that I made back in 2020. Well, actually, the ball gown bodice of it was slightly later edition, but I'll wear that for that gown. But I'm debating about looking at the black dress as well as seeing if I can alter that. Obviously, that's not going in today's alterations video. The other thing that I'd be interested in finishing, or starting / finishing, if I have time, is the purple dress that I started a couple of years ago for the Victorian Festival. It's actually Edwardian. It's this one. It's the recreation of this extant outfit right here. And I made the skirt and I made a ball gown bodice for it as an 1890s outfit, but I would like to actually make the original bodice. I still don't have lace that I love, but I have lace that can do, I guess. So yeah, if I have time for all of that, that's my list, but rainbow dress is number one, and that is going to be coming up very soon on this channel. And as I said, we'll take two questions right here. This is another quick one. Where did you get your dress form from? Janet Ballet asked me that. I have two dress forms. The one that you have been seeing the most lately is my bootstrap dress form. And I have a couple of videos on how I made that here on this channel, so those will be linked down in the description. The other dress form that the Bessel dress is on right now is, I believe, from like Roxy Form. I will try to link that down in the description. It was from Amazon. It's worked great. I did give her a mastectomy so that I could give her squishy boobs. They're made out of lentils, and I've carved into her because she's a hard foam form, but she has worked pretty well. I honestly don't know which one I like better between the bootstrap and that. Neither one are a perfect match for my body, so oh well, they both work. So the next project that I'm going to tackle is actually depilling this sweater. It has lots of pills and lots of like fuzz bits that have gotten into the pills. And I have a little depiller here that I think I got from Amazon. If so, I'll link it down in the description. It works a treat. So we are going to depill this sweater. By the way, as I have been completing each of the mending tasks, I have been cleaning a little bit off of my table in the hopes of eventually having enough table space to then roll up the fabric that's on the floor. So yeah, it's not much yet, but I have enough room that I can put a whole sweater there instead of just a pair of boots. So let's go depill that sweater. This depiller is so satisfying. I haven't even actually finished the sweater. I've done most of it. But look, oh, that's why, because I had other fuzz in there too. Oh my gosh, look at all of that. That's crazy. Well, it's not perfect, but it sure looks so much better than it was. And considering this was a thrifted sweater that I bought like 2 or 3 years ago, it's not going to be perfect. Like, it's been around a while. But now I can put this back into my rotation again because it doesn't have little white pills all over both sleeves. So that's really, really great. That was the last kind of like really easy project that I have of the to-do list of all of these mends and alterations. So I think that next I'm gonna need to really focus on cleaning off the rest of the table and rolling up the fabric once I have that table surface, and then I can look at what else there is on the to-do list. But that also means that it is time for another question. So Erin Reads a Lot asked, if you could create a historical character for American Girl, what time period would you pick? Now, as much as I would love an 1830s girl or like a just generic bustle era girl, I don't know of any specific reason to put a girl who wears like high fashion type fashion in either of those eras. And I think that what we're really lacking in the historical line is Asian American representation. So this is not my original idea. This is an idea that has been floating around the internet for quite some time, but I think that it would be so good to put an Asian American immigrant, most likely a Chinese American immigrant, living in California during like the influx of everyone, especially San Francisco during the gold rush was kind of an area that people would come into and buy all their supplies from. So one of the things I've heard is like, oh, it'd be really cool to have like the daughter of a Chinese American immigrant, I mean, she could be an immigrant too, whose father or whose parents maybe run a supplies type store in San Francisco for the miners to get their supplies before they go off to the gold rush. I think that that would be so cool and just open up such an educational opportunity for so many people. So that would be my pick for the next historical American Girl doll. I forgot that I had one more button moving type project, and it's in an easier project, and that is this trench coat right here. I have been meaning to turn this from a double-breasted to a single-breasted trench coat, and so I've already taken off like the fake buttons from the double-breasted side, and I have started to go in and kind of like sew the buttonholes shut that are interior, and then I think my plan was to put these buttons onto those buttonhole spots, like where the buttonholes are, it's going to be where the buttons are, and that way it gives me a little bit more room because it's a little bit too tight, and I will just turn this into single-breasted. So I'm gonna pop a whole bunch of buttons off, move the whole buttons over. To be honest, I am going to start working on this probably tomorrow because it's 10:30 right now and I should be getting ready for bed. But I also may bring this with me to the show this weekend and actually work on it backstage. Likewise, I do have one other easy mending project that I have been fully intended to be working on backstage this weekend, and that is my blue coat that I made back in 2018, I think it was, and I wear all the time in winter. And because of that, I know I have some hem issues that need to be redone, and the cuffs are getting threadbare. And I think all I can do with that is just kind of wrap thread around it to kind of stabilize there. But that's another thing that I'm going to be working on this weekend backstage at the show, because I'm gonna have my coat there anyway, let's be honest. Might as well wear it there and then work on it while I'm at the show. But this one, we are going to start tomorrow morning, and then we're gonna finish clearing off this table. I've already done like a third of it, so we're getting there. But then it also begs the question of, now I put the art from Emerald City Comic Con on my table that I need to figure out where I'm putting. I am fairly certain I know where I'm putting this one. This is my Thumbelina print. You might have seen this in last week's Emerald City Comic Con video, and I think I'm going to put this right next to my TV, but I can't really hang it there until the things that need to go in the closet go in the closet. So it's a whole, if you give a mouse a cookie, you know, effect. And then these are my other 3 prints, and I am debating about putting them right over here above those, which would, like, there's plenty of space for it, but it's really my only blank space in this entire room, so I'm just not sure if I want to fill that in. Let me just tilt you up so you can see what that space is before it gets to the ceiling. So that's really all it is, but that does leave room for these. I think they're gonna go there because frankly, I don't know where else in my house they can go. Though I guess the other option would be to move my Cinderella and Fairy Godmother print there and put them below the fashion plates, which I feel like would still give me the illusion of height of having that blank space up there. And then I could put Cinderella somewhere else that would fit 1 print, but not necessarily 3. I mean, just for example, Cinderella could very easily go above my mirror there, or above the fashion plates, and it would just be 1. Or she could even go above the thread rack over there. Like, there is plenty of room for a single print where there's not necessarily for the 3. The plan with these is, because of the color story here, to kind of put them all in a row. Rapunzel on one side, Snow White in the middle, and then the forest animals, which I like to think of as Snow White's forest animals. I don't know if they were intended that way, but to me, that's how it reads. But on the other side, so kind of sandwiching Snow White in between. But yeah, I had to get that one because I was wearing Snow White at the time. And then they had buy 2, get 1 free. And I fell in love with this one. And so then I wound up with Rapunzel as well. I just came in here to start cleaning and put some hats away. And I heard Maisie's bell. So, you know, I assumed she was down here in the pile. No, Maisie is not in that pile. Maisie has squirmed her way into my velvet. How did you get up there, A? And why are you ruining my velvet, B? Look at it. She has it wrapped around her. Look. Why were you so in my velvet? Now I'm going to have cat hairs in my velvet. And granted, this is velvet that has been sitting out on this table, except over in that pile, for 5-6 years, since 2020. But still, now that I've moved it over here, why are you in my velvet? What are you doing getting your fur in my velvet? Maisie. So it has actually been several days since that last clip. I have gotten a little bit more mending done, but it's just the mending that I brought with me to do backstage at the show this last weekend. And so that was moving all of the buttons on here. So this is now set up to make it a single-breasted coat instead of a double-breasted one, so that's great. I closed up like one of the buttonholes and then put a button over it. That's this one right here. I left the keyhole because that part didn't really matter, but I closed up where the button was attached to. And I've moved all the buttons over. They aren't like in a line because it needed more room in the hips and less room through like the bust and waist. So that's why they're kind of at an angle. I want to see if ironing will get like the button scars where it was kind of pulled at the fabric, if that will hopefully go away. But otherwise, everything is all set on the trench coat at this point, which I thrifted ages and ages ago and has just never fit that great, so I've never really worn it, but it makes a nice raincoat. And I did a lot of work on my trusty blue jacket. So again, I made this back in 2018 and I wear this all the freaking time, and because of that there are some issues. The biggest of which, and that I haven't really fully solved, is that the fabric just completely had like frayed away at the bottom of the cuffs. And so I've kind of like whipped over the edges to try to get that looking a little bit neater at least. But what that has done has been to cause like an uneven edge. See, so it looks like that. It doesn't look very nice. But I don't know how better to do that besides like an obvious patch, which I would have to see if I even have any more of this fabric. I honestly don't know if I do. But in doing that, what I also found was I had actually had a full-on hole, and it looks like now I'm getting another one on this side, but I had a full-on hole in the armscye that I mended, and I was able to mend it from the inside because it turns out I had also a hole in almost the same place in the lining of the armscye. That was actually in both armscies. So I fixed all of that. I also fixed a bunch of places on the hem where the hem had turned out. That kind of needs to be repressed, but otherwise that is all set. And I also closed up a couple of buttonholes because they were starting to kind of like tear through the edges. And so I sewed those edges up. I kind of did a whip stitch buttonhole stitch around the edges where the buttonhole had like torn through, and then I sewed it shut a little bit because the buttons were starting to just like pop out of the top couple of buttonholes when it was closed because the buttonholes had gotten too big. So yeah, that was everything that I mended on this, which is good because this I wear all the time. I need to figure out how to launder it or like dry clean it or steam it. I think I'll give it a good steam and hope that that refreshes it because it definitely needs some help. There's some spot cleaning that probably needs to happen too, but again, I wear this all the time, but we're going into spring, so hopefully I won't need to anymore. So mending wise, I don't know how much more time there is now because we're actually in a whole other week. And cleaning wise, the sewing room has kind of gotten messy because my parents are now here and stuff that normally lives elsewhere, like a chair full of American Girl dolls, is in here right now. And same with a whole bunch of fashion plates that I had to move from the office slash guest room because they were too low for where the bed is set up for my parents. So those are temporarily living in here. I am, however, going to be able to get my mom's second opinion on where I should hang all of my Comic-Con art, so that will be good because that way I can get that taken care of either today or tomorrow. And I still don't think I'm gonna have enough surface though to fold up the fabric that needs to get all rolled up onto bolts. So I don't know about that much, but we have a lot more questions to get to. So let's address some more of your questions. So we have a few more questions from Instagram, and then I'm going to switch over to those of you who left the questions in response to my YouTube post, which thank you very much. And Lori Lieber asked, do you ever think about designing for a movie or TV series? You have the talent. I would love to, but nothing films in Washington. So I would have to very much go elsewhere for something like that. And honestly, I really don't even work in theater costuming because unless you're working union jobs, it doesn't pay enough for me to take the time to do it. And the union jobs are all in Seattle, and that is quite a big commute for me. And so I really just don't do that. I would rather do stuff for you guys, aka sew stuff for myself and show it to you guys, because that just makes me happier. And also I have a job that isn't theater and is a day job, and so would prevent me from doing theater day jobs. So I kind of addressed this next question before with a little bit, but I'm going to elaborate a little bit more because Morgie Porgy asked, what theater productions would you love to be in that you haven't been in yet? So I mentioned my #1 dream role is Mrs. Lovett in Sweeney Todd, but other dream roles slash dream shows, Gertrude in Seussical is another one. I've done Seussical but haven't been able to play Gertrude, even though I was cast as Gertrude in 2020 and the pandemic took that away from me, which was sad. But I would love to do that. I really want to be in Parade. Specifically, I want to be Lucille in Parade. No one does Parade because it's a really sad and tough show. And I am worried that I'm going to age out of that role before I get to play it, but I really want to play Lucille in Parade. And at some point, probably when I'm a little older, I would love to play Dolly in Hello Dolly. I think that would just be really, really fun. And I also want to play the witch in Into the Woods. I have played the baker's wife multiple times, but I would really love the chance to play the witch. So those are kind of like the top of my list ones. Joy Shadows asks, what has been your most mentally challenging project? Honestly, I feel like every project is mentally challenging. Like, almost every project, I should say, because if I am doing something, especially for the first time, like for example, the Robe à la Française was really challenging just because I had never attempted anything like that before. So even though it wasn't an overall challenging project, like trying to kind of puzzle those shapes together was challenging. But frankly, because I never like repeat a project, basically, like there's never one that's going to be an exact copy of another one, every project becomes at least somewhat challenging. And so like, for example, the Rose's coat that I did a couple years ago, that was the first time that I had done embroidery digitizing in so long. So I basically had to reteach myself how to digitize. So that was something that was really challenging. Just honestly, almost every project is really mentally challenging. And it's just kind of like compartmentalizing that and being like, no, it's okay, I will figure this puzzle out. And that's why I like the kind of vlogs that I do with you, because I am puzzling as I go, and hopefully that's helpful to you guys, because then if you're doing something similar, maybe you will already get that puzzle. Right now, my biggest mental hurdle is going to be my very next project, which is going back to the rainbow bustle and actually accomplishing that collar that so defeated me last year. So keep your fingers crossed for me. HMWJDT4230, I don't know how to say that, says, have you ever sold your costumes to make room for new projects? Really, I haven't. I have sold technically 2 or 3 costumes. I sold like my very first things a really long time ago at like a GBACG sale, and I did sell one of my costumes to Emily, my very first 18th century costume. I sold that to her. I think that is it. I do have a couple that I potentially want to sell, but they are much earlier projects. Like my first attempt at Tudor that I made when I was in college, I want to sell that, but also it's not good, so I don't know how to sell it. So I haven't done that. And frankly, I like re-wearing old costumes. There's only a few that don't fit, and I'm hoping that maybe I can somehow make them fit. I don't want to get rid of them because they might be able to fit. We'll just have to do some changes to them. Ernstopple asks, dream musical cosplay that you haven't done yet. That's a challenge. Honestly, I'm not positive, because although I have somehow done a fair amount of musical cosplays recently, I feel like I don't tend to do musical theater cosplays. There is one from Hello Dolly, but not Dolly. It's actually one that Irene Malloy wears in the movie, and I really love this costume, and it was something that I kind of put onto my, you know, someday list at one point. I don't know if it's something that I will ever actually get to, but I really love it. I just think it's so fun. So that's kind of the only one that I feel like I can think of off the top of my head, but never say never, because I might get inspired by something. Jolly Salmon asks, where to look for historical patterns that are understandable? So I would say it kind of depends on your era. If you're looking for Victorian, I do feel like the truly Victorian patterns have pretty good instructions. Honestly, the instructions from like the big four, Simplicity, Butterick, etc., I feel like the instructions are usually pretty decent. It's the pattern shapes themselves that are not as decent. So if you are willing to adjust the pattern, but what you're looking for are good instructions, you could look there. Laughing Moon for Regency, that is very thorough. So I would definitely check out Laughing Moon if you're looking for Regency. Those are kind of the big ones. I feel like Laughing Moon for Regency, Truly Victorian for Victorian, I would check out those. For other eras, I don't have such concrete ideas. Actually, also, I feel like I had good instructions the couple times I've used Scroop patterns, and I know Scroop has some other eras, like both Edwardian, and they have 18th century, so you could also check out Scroop. Lucy Sphincter said, I loved watching you do Jane from 6 in Tudor style. Any more Tudor coming? Not at the moment, but a project that I have been wanting to do is to make like something new for Ren Fair. Probably it would be more in Elizabethan style, like a new kirtle or something like that, but it could potentially be Tudor kirtle. Honestly, it's not enough in my head yet that I'm like really plotting it out. It's possible also that I might do something more medievally or a little bit like medieval meets fantasy this summer. That is potentially on my list for Ireland if I have time, but probably not Tudor specifically. I just don't have enough opportunity to wear it. And then Nona asked, do you ever do a build book to keep everything organized on large recreations? I only do build books when I have to present them for a competition, for a con. So no, I've never done them for like a historical project. What I do try to do is keep the patterns together, and these are my build books, like these videos. I will very frequently go back and watch older videos that I've made and look at like, oh, okay, that's what I did on this project. So I need to use this pattern. I need to make these changes to it. I, added this much extra fabric to the robe a la Francaise or things like that. I really do refer back to my videos. So as much as they may help you, they also help future Rebecca. And believe me, I will definitely be referring back to my robe a la Francaise videos from last year as I make another robe a la Francaise this year coming this summer. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to perusing my videos again to remember everything that I did differently on that robe a la Francaise. And then lastly from Instagram, Iris asked, how would you add sleeves to the walkaway dress? And I hate to say this, but I think the answer is you wouldn't. If I'm remembering correctly, it's been a long, long time since I made the walkaway dress. I literally made it like, I think before my freshman year of college, like coming from high school. It was one of my first projects, and it was a massive piece of garbage, and I blame the pattern because I know a lot of other people have had a lot of issues with that pattern. So it's the pattern, I think, not me. It's two separate things, two separate pieces that like come over and cross under your arm. So there's no way to make it have sleeves, because it's just a big open thing that then forms itself around your body. So other than a cap sleeve, that's pretty much all you can do, unfortunately. So let's do a little bit more organizing, and then we will go through your questions from my YouTube post. The new current state has not gotten any better, sadly. These dolls are all for sale. If you see any that you really think you might want, let me know, because I've been meaning to do an American Girl doll sale. Little organizing update. My art has been hung. So those are the ones by Megan Wifey, the trio of them. And then you can see the fashion plates are still above. I moved the Cinderella print up to here and actually cut down the matting just a little bit so that it would fit better up there. And then I've also got the two prints by Vanessa up next to there. So that looks super cute above the mirror. And then I have also hung my Thumbelina print over here beside my TV. So there is a little bit more space on the table now. However, I also put away all of my costumes in order to do that, all the ones that have needed to go in this closet. And that meant that I also needed to clear the floor / the dress form. You can see I've switched out the dress form. That's my bootstrap over there by the closet now. And the floor right there is clear, but that part of what was there were all of these ribbons that had fallen down. So I'm going to like sew together the ribbons because I think they've just kind of come apart from each other. And that way, hopefully they won't, because I keep my ribbons on a random hanger over here clipped to the hanger. So I just want to get those clipped back on there. I still obviously do need to put away this fabric right here, but we're getting closer to actually having the space to do that on the table. This is a project that I'm working on for my mom. More on that next week, but that is why that is right there. So really, there's not that much more of the table that needs to be cleared off before I can actually bolt up all of the extra fabric, including what's on the table. But in the meantime, let's take a little bit more time to address more of your questions. So these are now all coming from you guys who commented on my YouTube post, starting with Doggo Bow Wow, who asked, what first inspired you? I'm assuming that you mean for costuming, and in that case, honestly, a huge credit has to go to American Girl, because that is where I first started learning about historical costuming. But beyond that, when I was in college, I went to my first Ren Fair with some of my friends, and I then found like Renaissance Fair forums online, and from that found the historical costuming community. So that is what also like actively got me into historical costuming. I had already been kind of studying theatrical costuming, getting a minor in costume design, but that's really what got me into historical, and then the cosplay kind of came out from there as well. But frankly, the origin story begins with American Girl. Leg 1945 asked, what type of fabric do you use for flatlining? Why and when do you flatline? And frankly, that's what's been sitting on the floor and also on the table that needs to get bolted up. It's cotton sateen. Cotton sateen is one of my favorite things to flatline with for modern type bodices, and also for sleeves or anything where you don't need quite as much heft, or like if your fabric, your exterior fabric is already quite hefty. If you do need a little bit more heft within your interior, then generally I would flatline with like a twill. If you can get your hands on it, a polished cotton, but that's honestly pretty hard to come across. And I find that polished cotton is that like stiffer, but still kind of satiny. Cotton twill works really well as well. I just generally like something with a little bit more heft for the historical bodices to flatline. And frankly, I prefer flatlining to bag lining, because flatlining means that you can go in there later and adjust it without having to undo your entire lining. So bag lining, I would save for like a coat. That's pretty much what I would bag line. A cape, something where it's more almost like an outerwear garment. I flatline pretty much everything else, and I won't always flatline a sleeve, but if I need it to be a little bit thicker for any reason, I will flatline a sleeve. I tend to flatline sleeves in historical costuming in general, and I think I always flatline bodices, regardless of whether it's historical or modern, with very, very few exceptions. Like if the garment fabric already has enough heft for modern, then I won't flatline. But really for like everything historical, other than something that actively needs to be sheer, I will flatline it. And again, cotton sateen and cotton twill are my favorites. Becky TG asked, if you had a dinner, what famous people, dead or alive, would you invite? I have no idea. I think that I potentially wouldn't want to. I think I would just get nervous, especially if we're talking about multiple famous people, dead or alive. Like, I did always have a dream and a bucket list goal of meeting Stephen Sondheim, who has now passed away. So I guess I'd have to put him on the list. If you're not familiar, he is a musical theater composer. He is who composed Into the Woods, Sweeney Todd, Company, Merrily We Roll Along, so many more, and is kind of like the genius of musical theater. But beyond that, I'm honestly not sure, because I think I would get pretty nervous. And then here's two questions that kind of go hand in hand, I feel like. Ella Muriel asked, what sewing skills that you have learned are you most proud of, and what still intimidates you? And likewise, Dana Riggle asked, what's a sewing skill you want to master but haven't yet? I feel like these kind of go together. So first off, what am I most proud of? Kind of going back to the digitizing, I am proud that I think I've got a good handle on embroidery digitizing now. Obviously it could be much improved, but I do feel a lot better about it. Also, frankly, I feel like I'm kind of known for fit. Like, people will always compliment me on fit when I'm out and about, as far as like the fit of my garments go. So I think that that is a skill that I have worked really, really hard to kind of achieve. Maybe not perfect, I still struggle, but definitely achieve. And then as far as what still intimidates me / what do I want to master, the number one thing that I can think about is learning how to digitize patterns. So actual sewing patterns, not embroidery patterns. I really want to make patterns for you guys. Some of you might know that I have one sewing pattern available on Etsy, and it's for this jumper dress right here that I did back in like 2021 or something like that. And it's just a one size pattern, and swiftly after that, well, within about a year after that, I completely forgot how I even made that pattern, and I just don't know how to do patterning to get it into a digital format for you guys. Like, I can pattern it myself for me, but I would like to put it online and be able to, you know, get it to you guys. And it's something I don't know and that I struggle with. The other things that I like don't know how to do beyond other skills like 3D printing, etc. The other sewing things that I don't know how to do tend to be really small fiddly things. And I kind of learned about myself several years ago that I don't have the patience for much of that anyway. Like, I would like to get even better at tailoring, learn pad stitching, etc. But I don't have a lot of patience, and little small fiddly things like embroidery, beading, etc. they are not something that I can usually focus on. Though tambour embroidery, every time I see a video of it, I'm like, wow, that looks really cool. I kind of want to learn how to do that. Would I actually use that skill? Probably not. But I feel like given the opportunity to take a class like from Casey Renee Cosplay or someone like that, I think I would like to learn tambour embroidery, but especially how to digitize patterns. Okay, we're going to do a little bit more cleaning and then I will get to the remainder of the questions in a little bit. My table is finally clean. So obviously now I have the nice wide open surface in which I can roll up all of that fabric, including the stuff in the bag is the silk that I bought from Memo that I forgot that I'd never put on bolts. So all of this pile now can get rolled up, as well as the white cotton sateen over there, and we'll clear off even a little bit more space. I am literally in the process of pressing the black fabric right now so that I can bolt it, except that this happened. She is on the part that is closest to the table too. So it's not even like I can just kind of unearth her. Hey, ma'am. Ma'am, I need this. Yeah, I'm using it. Ma'am, I'm bolting the fabric. What are you doing? Can you iron for me? Not only is the table clean and all of the fabric, almost all of the fabric, bolted, but the floor is clean and all of the fabric is off the floor. It's a miracle. Obviously, there is still a lot of mending to do for some future video. These are all slightly larger mends. Caroline just needs a bunch of bars moved, so she's really not that bad. That's the blue right here. This just needs new elastic in the waist, and honestly, this might just need a hook and bar moved as well. But unfortunately, I think we're out of time for that. So let's go ahead and finish up the questions in our newly cleaned sewing room. I must say, it is so much nicer to answer your questions in this nice, clean sewing room. Now, granted, it's not perfect. Like, there is still stuff on the tables over here that you can see on screen right now, but it's so much better than it was. So let's take a look at the remainder of your questions here. Madden R. Grimes asks, are you planning on doing any more Barbie cosplays anytime soon? I am, but probably not soon. I'm thinking about potentially like for next year's con. I had been thinking about it for this year, honestly, and then it just didn't really work out. And I'm not sure yet which Barbie it would be. I keep coming back to Lovin' You Barbie, which is this one right here. So that may happen in the future, but the doll itself is pretty expensive and I like to be able to carry the doll around with me. And I don't know that I'd be able to like justify spending that much money on that doll, particularly since she's not one from my childhood. So it's possible that I would do like one from my childhood. Most of the ones that are up here are from my childhood. Like I just got Pet Pal's Skipper, which was really exciting. She was one of my favorite Barbies when I was a kid. So maybe something like that, but we'll see. Cartoony Gothica has a two-part question. Considering you have enjoyed the Pixar movie Cars, which if you guys did not know, Cars is actually one of my favorite Pixar movies of all time, they asked, have you seen the sequels? I have. I've seen both Cars 2 and Cars 3 once each. Cars 3 I could see maybe watching again because it was like better. Cars 2 was garbage. And that's my opinion about those sequels. I have not seen Planes. And then also they said, I know you weren't happy with the Playline Rapunzel American Girl doll's dress, but how do you feel about the other Disney dolls that American Girl has done? I like the dresses. I don't really like the concept of American Girl Disney dolls. Like, I think it kind of defeats the purpose of American Girl dolls. But I do have a lot of the dresses. I've bought some of the ones that you can just buy separately, and then I've also bought like the dress that Tiana comes in. I have bought just that dress that someone was selling because it's just so pretty and it looks really, really great on Claudie. So I do have some of those, and I put them on them for like Halloween costumes. But overall, I'm not a fan of the Disney / American Girl collab. Our Tiny Town Homestead asked, how often do you rewear projects you've made? If you end up not really wearing something, what do you do with it? So kind of like how I mentioned before, I don't really sell costumes. So frankly, even the ones that I'm not super happy with, they're still in my closet. And what will happen with them is if I have an event coming up, say like a bustle era event or something like that, I will pull out that bustle dress that I made a couple of Christmases ago, this one right here, that I just was never really happy with even during the making, and I will contemplate wearing it. And then I'll put it back in my closet because I don't wear it. So yeah, some of them I fix so that I can wear them. Some of them just literally sit in my closet because I'm not happy with them. There's very few though that I'm not happy with. And frankly, I rewear them. I love rewearing costumes and cosplays. I think that that is so important. Like, you spent all this time and money and effort putting together this costume, rewear it. Generally, I don't rewear it for the exact same event, but I do sometimes, especially like Regency ball gowns. I rewear those for the same event the next year, but I just rewear them because I like rewearing costumes and it's nice. And that way, like, you're making more sense of all of that effort you put into it. And yeah, it's just fun. Make a reason for you to wear a costume, have a picnic, something like that. It's just fun to wear them. And kind of jumping off of that question, Brandy Loutherback asked, do you have a favorite cosplay that you've done and what is it? I don't necessarily have a favorite overall, but my favorite one to wear has turned into Kirsten's meat dress. It is so comfy and easy to wear and just like easy to throw on. It's got flat shoes. It's got no corset. It has a wig that I don't even have to worry about because it's got bangs and a bonnet on it. It's so easy. So Kirsten meat outfit has become my favorite cosplay to wear. Nims1939 asked, what's your favorite dress you made this last year? And also, what dress style would you never sew again? And what dress are you looking forward to making this coming year? Honestly, that first question last year, that is a hard question because it's a really close contest between the yellow ball gown and also the robe à la Francaise. I think I might have to give it to the yellow ball gown just because I enjoy wearing it more, because I enjoy wearing that era more, and I feel like an absolute princess in it. So yeah, yellow ball gown, this one right here, that was my favorite one from last year. I've worn it 3 times already and I will wear it more because I love it. The robe à la Francaise I do look forward to wearing more because I really like that one as well. And kind of that goes with what are you looking forward most to making this coming year. I think it's probably, if we can't include finishing my Snow White cosplay, which would probably be number 1, honestly, it would be the Snow White robe à la Francaise that I'm planning to make. I'm very excited for that. And I feel like they're just like 2 costumes that are kind of going right in tandem together, and I am really looking forward to both of them. So apparently 2026 is the year of Snow White for me. And then as far as what dress style would you never sew again, I'm not going to ever make another English Regency court gown. That is one that I doubt that I will wear again. I should probably repurpose it, to be honest. It wasn't comfortable to wear. It wasn't really fun to wear. It was silly to wear. Like, I enjoyed wearing it with other people also wearing English Regency court gowns. So maybe I will keep it for that purpose if any such event comes up again. But it is just not comfy to keep your arms up here this whole time like a weird little T-Rex. And you walk into walls and it's too wide in the wrong places and it's really unflattering. And yeah, so that one I would not do again. Jen and Stitches asked, if cost wasn't an issue, what is your dream fabric that you would buy? My brain factors cost no matter what. Like, I suppose maybe the question would be like, if I were a multimillionaire and cost was literally never an issue for anything, what would I do? But otherwise it would be like, even if someone was like, hey, do you want this really expensive? Like, I would still think, oh, I should resell this fabric because it's not worth me using, because I could get money for it instead, and I need money because I'm broke. So I could do that instead of like spending all this money on fabric. So I am a very, very frugal person, and I've never had a lot of money at all. And so I would not ever spend a lot of money on fabric. I think the most that I might have ever spent on anything might actually have been that sparkly upholstery fabric for Jane, because that was close to 20 a yard, I think. And that is way a lot, and I don't spend that much money on fabric. That's why I go to the fabric district when I can, so that I can get it for a lot cheaper. And I would not feel comfortable sewing with fabric that costs more than that, frankly. Kyle J asked, are there any cosplays or historical eras that you want to do or have done that made you nervous? The Robe à la Francaise made me nervous. Now I'm feeling more comfortable about it now that I know kind of how they go. And kind of like I mentioned earlier, every project is different, and so every project feels daunting at various points for the most part. There's not any specifically that have made me like nervous. Frankly, I'm feeling nervous about the Rainbow Bustle, which is actually right here off camera, and I'm about to go back to that literally tomorrow. But it's gonna be okay. We can do this. Oh, and then they also said Disney, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, or PBS. It's like, I'm guessing which one would I watch. Of those, probably PBS, because it tends to have the most period dramas. I don't watch Disney very much. Like, I don't actually have Disney Plus, and I don't see a lot of the Disney movies that come out anymore because they seem kind of crappy normally. To be honest, I love classic Disney, like 90s Disney. But yeah, of those, PBS. And then last question, and I've saved this one for last for a reason. The Velvet Lounge Life asked, tell us about your doggy. I thought you just had cats. And it happens to be Cookie's Gotcha Day today that I am filming. This is March 29th that I'm filming these last little section of questions. So let me go grab Cookie and we will talk about Cookie together. So 1 year ago today, I adopted Cookie here, and he is a Schnauzer Terrier mix, and I got him from a rescue about like an hour or so away from me, because I knew I wanted kind of a dog of his size. I wanted like Lion size or smaller. Lion was my last dog, if you were not around to know Lion. And Lion died December of 2024, and I got Cookie March 29th, 2025, and he is a sweetie. He is a little ball of anxiety a lot of times and has all sorts of different little anxieties, but overall he is a sweet little boy, and he gets along really well with Maisie, which is great. Like, they actually play together occasionally, and that is kind of more than I could ask for. But yeah, he is my sweetheart, and I think that we're gonna have a very nice long time together. Oh, and he loves tummy pets. That is his favorite thing other than walks. And so right after I finish this video, we are going to hopefully have it not be raining, and we're gonna go out for a walk for his Gotcha Day. So I am going to end this video here with Cookie, and I just want to thank you all so much for helping me with my mending and my cleaning today. I think we got a lot done in this week's video, and also hopefully you have learned a little bit more with all of the answers to all of your questions. Again, I like to do these Q&A videos once a year, so if you have questions that didn't get answered, check out the older Q&As too. Again, they will be linked up here in a playlist, and also if you have other questions, let me know for next year and we can talk about those next year. But thank you again so much for joining us today. If you like this video, please go ahead and click the thumbs up icon, and if you'd like to see more videos like this from me, please go ahead and click subscribe and the little bell icon to be notified every time I post a new video. I do post videos here on YouTube at least once a week. Usually they are sewing vlogs out on Tuesdays, and we will be back to that next week. And sometimes there's additional costuming or sewing related content, especially shorts, out on Saturdays, but I do post every day over on my Instagram, so please go follow me on Instagram. That's at Lady Rebecca Fashions. And if you'd like to help support all of the work that I do on my channel, I do have a link to my Patreon and my Ko-fi down in the description below, or you can send me a super thanks or join my YouTube channel memberships right here on YouTube below the video. I'd also like to give a special shout out to my Edwardian level patrons, Jean and Kim. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Happy sewing! See you, bye!